They watched her walk onto the battlefield with the confidence of someone either gifted or insane. To the Torthan commanders, who ruled the Heskell expanse with titanium jaws and plasma breath, she looked like a joke. She was small, unarmored, carrying nothing but a long spear of carbon steel and some strange, box-shaped device slung to her back. They laughed in their native clicks and throaty warbles, their translators too slow to catch the nuance of mockery. She didn't flinch. The fields around them were scorched black, the red-blooded grasses of Selkir. 9 still hissed with steam from the bombardment hours earlier. It had taken the Torthans 3 months and 17 battalions to silence the rebel colonies here, but one human survivor had slipped through their net. They should have been worried. They weren't. After all, the data said humans were clever, inventive, emotionally erratic, yes, but nothing to fear in single combat. She should have surrendered. She didn't. Commander Gerthu, all 12 feet of scaled arrogance and mechanized implants, stepped forward. His translators clicked. You have one chance, Earthborn. Lay down your primitive weapon. We will allow you to die painlessly. Resist, and your atoms will serve as fertilizer. She smiled. It wasn't a grin of madness or despair. It was a soldier's smile, the kind seen seconds before a miracle or a massacre. You think I'm outmatched, she said, her voice calm, precise. That's why your species won't exist tomorrow. The Torthans didn't understand. That was their first mistake. The second was charging her. She moved like fire in reverse, sharp, cold, and deliberate. The spear wasn't just forged metal. It was balanced with nanomagnetic gyros keyed to her biometrics. When she struck, it cut through the first Torthan's armor like silk, spinning on its axis to return to her hand before the others could react. Gerthu roared. Plasma cannons emerged from his spine. The ground cracked. Still, she walked forward, now pressing a button on the device strapped to her back. The ground beneath her pulsed blue. Torthan weapons misfired. Their targeting systems blinked red. A soft, rhythmic tone began to rise. Human music. War drums. Then violins. She had uploaded Earth's battle symphonies into the device's sonic warfare module. The Torthans had no defenses against psychological subharmonics, tuned from mammalian neural patterns. Their aim wavered. Gerthu staggered. He fired again. She disappeared in the smoke, reappeared at his flank, jammed her spear through the base of his skull. The silence that followed was not peace. It was dread. The remaining commanders looked around, blinking, confused. Their enemy had no shield, no fleet, no orbital support. Just one human, one woman. But every one of them now realized something ancient and horrifying. They were prey. She looked at the closest one, General Ixora, who had overseen the sterilization of 3 human colonies. You used orbital strikes on civilians, she said, voice low. On children. They were resistance breeders. Ixora spat. Collateral. She didn't argue. She just stepped closer. Ixora activated his personal defense drones, hundreds of them, each armed with photon blades and shielding fields. The woman didn't blink. She tapped her wrist twice. A silent detonation pulsed outward. The drones dropped. EMP? No. Something more elegant. She had used a frequency burst tuned to the Torthan command codes. How? No one knew. But it worked. She reached Ixora before his claws could rise. One movement. One kill. The rest tried to flee. 15 minutes later, there were no Torthans left alive on Selkir 9. Orbiting above, the Torthan flagship caught the last seconds of her assault via scout drones. They saw her kneel beside a crater, placing a charred child's shoe on the soil. She whispered something in her language. The translators failed to interpret it, but Earth's historians would later confirm the phrase. This is for Maya. The Torthans debated orbital annihilation again. But the moment they powered their weapons, their fleet shut down. Systems scrambled. Their starboard cannons turned inward. One by one, the ships went dark, then exploded. No human vessels in range. No logical cause. Only the silence of dead satellites and one line of corrupted code echoing through their systems. She is enough. Panic spread through the Empire like a plague. The Torthan High Command issued emergency decrees, demanding all archives related to human woman be erased. But the data spread faster than it could be deleted. Soldiers mutinied rather than face her. Colonies once loyal to the Torthans rose in revolt, emboldened by what they saw. A single human ending an army. It was no myth. They had the footage. Other species began to whisper her name. Commander Lira Voss. Earth's ghost. Some claimed she'd been bred in the ruins of a Yellowstone Warfare Academy, the last Earth military citadel still standing. Others said she died a decade ago and had returned. No one agreed on the origin. All agreed on the outcome. 3 days later, Lira boarded a Torthan dreadnought and left it drifting above its own sun, its crew fused to the hull by temperatures that made plasma seem cold. She didn't use bombs. She used atmosphere manipulation. How did a single human breach a warship's climate core? No one knew. For days later, the Torthan Central Relay Station on Hurith 7 received her transmission. A visual, no encryption, just her face. Calm. This isn't vengeance, she said. This is history correcting itself. The Torthan scrambled to respond, declared her a war criminal, sent fleets to intercept her. None returned. Reports grew stranger. Entire battalions found eviscerated, their commanders missing, their ships wiped of data except for one image, her silhouette standing in flame. Military analysts tried to explain away. Sensor failure, mass hysteria, a new Earth psyop. But deep down, every Torthan officer knew the truth. They had underestimated her, called her outmatched. They thought strength was in numbers, in ships, in weapons. Humans thought differently. The spear is not the weapon. Lira had once told her class. The hand that wields it is. They'd laugh then, too. Those cadets were now ash. 7 days after Selker 9, the Torthan Emperor addressed the Empire. His voice trembled. Surrender is not an option. We will not be defeated by a single mammal. His feed was cut mid-broadcast, replaced by her again. She stood atop the corpse of a planetary cannon, lit by starlight. No words, just silence. Then the Torthan Empire began to collapse. Entire sectors revolted. Their AI systems refused orders. Torthan ships reprogrammed to avoid systems tagged with her presence. Refugees poured into human space begging for asylum, not from war, but from her. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. The surviving Torthan ambassador demanded Earth be sanctioned for deploying a planet-class singularity agent. Earth's ambassador, an old man with cybernetic eyes and a voice like distant thunder, simply replied, "We didn't deploy her. You created her." Then walked out. A week later, the Torthan species was declared functionally extinct. Last survivors vanished into fringe systems, their empire shattered. She never returned to Earth. Some say she walked forgotten battlefields, burying the dead. Others believe she sleeps beneath the oceans of Terra, waiting for another species to believe humans are outmatched, waiting for another war. But for those who know war intimately, who fought in the silent void and seen how one human can turn extinction into art, her legend is a warning, a prayer, a truth burned into the walls of every command station across the galaxy. Never outmatch a human, especially not her.